Nigeria is actually experiencing a high level of inflationary trend in the country, and presently the economic situation is very cumbersome, very hard, very unbearable. And unfortunately, in our present economic system, which is free market economic system, or what I call capitalism, we have two classes in the society now, or what I call social stratification. It is either you are actually rich or you are poor. So the middle class is actually diminishing or disappearing gradually. So in our present contemporary economic system, we have two classes in the society. We have the rich and we have the have not, the hopolois or the poor in the society. Now, the gap between the rich and the poor is actually increasing every day, which is further compounded by high level of inflationary trend in the country. So a lot of people are actually poor in this country, and the situation of the country is quite unbearable, and it is quite unpalatable. So today I'll be talking about interest rates. If you've been watching my videos before, I've talked about so many things as it relates to economic dynamics, the free market system, the impact of the economic system, free trade, and the rest of them. They are all in my videos. And now we have a situation where the price of goods and services have all gone up or actually skyrocketed. So the question is, how does interest rate affect economic growth? How does interest rate actually affect economic growth? You see, in advanced countries, most especially in America, in Britain, in France, in Germany, in Israel, and every other European countries, what has actually been keeping the economy going, what has actually been keeping the economy buoyant, what has actually been keeping the economy to be very, very strong is actually the dynamics of the economic system. So, economic system needs to be dynamic. It needs to reflect ever-changing socio-political and economic system of the society, and that's the context, that's the dynamics of the economic system. Now, what we're saying here is that because the economic system is actually dynamic, that has made the government of all these countries, the so-called developed countries, being able to actually manage the economy and being able to weather the storm of inflation. You see, inflation is actually a universal phenomenon all over the world now. Virtually every country in the world is actually experiencing inflation. Nigeria is experiencing inflation. There's inflation in US, in Britain, in China, in all over the world. There is inflation. It's just that the magnitude or the extent of the inflation or the inflationary trend is not the same all over the world. While some countries are experiencing high level of inflation, some countries are actually being able to effect or have what I call a mild inflationary trend. In developing countries, there is high level of inflation. So what is the secret, or what is actually those things that the advanced countries are actually using, that this thing is actually working for them? Now, not only the advanced countries alone, we also have countries like China, we have Canada, where they have been able to weather the storm, and this has actually been working out for them. So what's actually the secret that these countries are actually using that is making the system to work out for them, unlike other countries? Now, the basic facts, the most important thing you need to know, in that in advanced country, the most important, the lacuna, the retrospective aspect of this perpendicular economic system of the world is that most of these advanced countries have actually been able to adjust their interest rate at one particular time or the other. They have been able to adjust their interest rate at one particular time or the other. Since the inception of the year 2024, the United States of America, for example, have been able to adjust its interest rate at one particular time or the other. And presently now in the United States of America, interest rate is about 2 point something percent, 2 point something percent. Now, let us now look at the dichotomy, the impact of the interest rate in a country like Nigeria, or using Nigeria as a case study. Now, looking at Nigeria as a case study in reflection or in relations to the advanced countries of the world like America, you are going to see that the relationship is not an egalitarian relationship. There is no consonance between the two of them, because one is higher, the other one is lower. So in advanced countries like USA, for example, they have what I call lower interest rates. But in a country like Nigeria, we have an higher interest rate. Now, what is the interest rate for Nigeria's economy? The interest rate now present is about 24 point something percent. 24 point something percent. Let's say 24%. Now look at America, 2%. Look at Nigeria, 24%. There is a big margin. There is a gargantuan margin. There is a large margin. There is, a big margin between the two of them, between America's economy and Nigeria's economy. Now, don't forget that both of them are actually operating what I call a capitalism or a free market economy system, where the forces of demand and supply actually, plays a very tangible role or important role in the economic system, and where you have what I call market forces. If you look at the American economy, interest rate is very, very low, but compared to Nigeria's economy, interest rate is very, very high. Now, if you look at the two economies, both of them are adopting what I call capitalism or free market economy system, but the interest rates are not the same. The interest rate in the United States of America is actually favorable to the average man on the street, and that is why in the United States of America you still have what I call three classes of social stratification. You have the rich, you have the middle class, and you have the lower class. The rich class, the middle class, and the lower class. But in developing countries like Nigeria, the middle class is actually disappearing gradually, is diminishing gradually, is not, is going out of the system gradually, owing to the fact that the margin between the rich and the poor is very, very large. Nigeria's interest rate is very, very high, and America's interest rate is very, very low. The American interest rate is very, very low because government plays a major role in the economic system, despite the fact that the country is actually adopting what I call capitalism. Capitalism is a free market economic system where the means of production, distribution, and exchange are actually controlled by private individuals, with government playing a minimal role, or government actually controlling the speed of the economy, ensuring that the price of goods and services does not affect every individual in the society. So government plays what I call a functionary role in a capitalist economic system, and that is why in the United States of America's economy, government stimulates the economy. And one of the ways through which government stimulates the economy is that government pumps money into the economic system. And despite the fact that ordinarily in economics we need to understand that when there is too much money in circulation, it's going to lead to a high level of inflation. But you need to take into cognizance to the fact that other factors also plays a major role when it comes to inflationary trend in a country. So America has actually been able to suppress or bring down the inflation to the barest minimum because government plays a functionary role, a proactive role in the economic system. And one of the ways through which the government does this is by actually controlling the inflow of money in the economy through the interest rates. Government also it reduces the interest rate so that people can actually have access to money. An average man on the street in America have access to credit cards, to loan facilities, and the rest of them. And if these people or this group of people are able to have access to low credit facilities and loans and the rest of them, it means that they can be able to have access to loans. They can be able to have access to the money. And when they have the access to the money, they can get this money to stimulate the economy, to grease the economy, to make the economy to be robust. And that is the secret of what of most of the advanced countries, that they're actually using to make the economy to actually work for them. Some people will say that the the American economy is actually going into recession. That's statement, or that comment is totally wrong. The American economy cannot go into recession. If you want more of that video, go and watch my video. I did a video on that, on the American economy not being able to go into recession. So when you are talking about economic system, it is a very dynamic, very complex, very complicated system that government needs to be very proactive. Government must be flexible. Government must be dynamic. Government must be enterprising. Government must be flexible with the changing economic trends every day. So the American economy has been able to weather the storm based on the fact that government uses interest rate to control the economy. So if the economy is experiencing low pace, if the economy is not moving at a very fast pace, what the government does is that it will rather reduce the interest rate. And when the government actually reduces the interest rate, it means that an average man will be able to get money and invest money at the end of the day. And when they invest this money, what happens to the economy? The economy is going to be robust. It's going to be robust. The economy is going to be stimulated. The economy is going to be oiled at the end of the day. The economy is going to be very, very strong and very, very vibrant. So if you want more of that video, go and watch my video on why the American economy cannot collapse. Now back to Nigeria. What is the scenario with Nigeria? What is the case with Nigeria? What's actually wrong with the Nigerian economic system? You see, Nigeria's economic system over the years has been a very docile economic system. It's not a vibrant economic system owing to the various fiscal monetary policies of the government at one successive administration after the other. And this has actually what over the years aggrandized together. They have come together, they have accumulated together to find us where we are today. But that does not mean that there's actually no solution. There can actually be a solution. So the first thing that the government needs to do when it comes to the high inflationary rate in Nigeria, because right now inflation stands at 34%. Inflation stands at 34%. In such an economic system, it is not a good one for the economy. For the inflation to stand at 34%, it is a suicide mission. That means that most of the companies in Nigeria, if care is not taken, most of these companies will collapse. An average household will not be able to afford 3 square meals. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and there's going to be a fall in the standard of living of the people. So for the government to avoid this preposterous situation, or this globalistic situation, or this political instability or economic crisis, the government must need to step in and rectify the situation. So what we're saying here is that the first step to actually rectifying this situation, apart from monetary, fiscal policies and other policies that can actually be put into place by the government, is number one, to work on the interest rate. Now, when the interest rate is actually reduced to the various minimum, for example, maybe 3% or 2% or 4% or 5%, that means an average man on the street can be able to have access to credit facilities. And when you talk about credit facilities, it also means that the government needs to make it more flexible for everybody to be able to have access to the credit facilities. And once they have the access to the credit facilities, what are we saying here? People will be able to buy, people will be able to do businesses, people will be able to engage in more economic activities. And when they engage in more economic activities, they are actually robusting the economy, they are actually oiling the economy, they are actually making the economy to be very vibrant and to be very strong and to be very, very active. And that's the secret. So for you to be able to make the Nigerian economic system to actually work, the government needs to reduce the interest rate to the barest minimum, so that an average man on the street can be able to have access to credit facilities. Like in America, an average man in America has a credit card, has access to credit facilities, because the system is actually very flexible, very dynamic, very easy, very simple. And the government also encourages individual households to apply for loans, to apply for credit facilities in order to be able to stimulate the economy, to make the economy to actually work at the end of the day. So the government needs to actually reduce the interest rate to the barest minimum so that the other factors of the economy can actually work together, and we can actually get to that place where we actually deserve for ourselves at the end of the day. So what we're saying here is that the government needs to work in the area of the interest rate, because the interest rate is actually at 24%, and an average man on the street may not be able to have access to this loan, to these credit facilities and the rest of them that will actually make the economy to be stimulated and make the economy to work at the end of the day. So government needs to actually work on the credit facilities and through interest rates, because one of the medium through which the economic system can actually be able to work is when you actually stimulate the economy, when you make consumer price index to be low, when people are able to have access to credit facilities, they can be able to spend their money. Right now in Nigeria, people are not spending money because there is no money. The money is there, but not in the hands of the majority, but in the hands of the few people. And who are these few people? The rich class in the country. And this is not supposed to be. And that is why the rich class, they constitute what I call the minority, and their input into the economic system might not be able to have a tangible effect on the economic system because they constitute the minority, as opposed to the majority that are actually the middle class or the poor class. So we need to learn a lot of things from the American economy, and that thing that actually makes the economy to actually work is the stimulus provided by the government. During the time of the COVID-19 in 2019-2020, the American government actually printed about $2 trillion into the American economy, and every individual household was able to have money so that they can be able to survive in this pandemic and during that time. And you can see the effects, because an average household in US and the rest of these advanced countries can be able to buy, they can spend money. When you do spend money in the economic system, it will slow the economic system, it will make the economy not to be vibrant, not to be robust, not to be very, very strong. But if you want your economic system to be very robust, to be strong, to be active, to be dynamic, then you need to encourage people to spend their money. When people spend the money, they are creating money in the economy. They are stimulating the economy. They are making the economy to be robust. They are making the economy to be dynamic. They are making the economic system to actually work. So one of the secrets to actually making the economic system work is when every individual household can be able to spend money. So, because when you spend money, you are actually creating employment for other people in the economy, and that's what is making most of these advanced countries to be very, very strong, to be very active, to be very dynamic. And that's why most of them are called first world countries, or metropolitan countries, or the most advanced countries, or the most sophisticated countries. Because why? Government is always proactive, government is responsible, government is integrity, government is accountability, government is responsiveness, government is welfareism, government is liberal, government is functional, government is proactive. I hope most of these developing countries in Nigeria, in Africa, including Nigeria, can be able to borrow away from it. And I will also commend the government for taking a very giant stride in some areas of the economy, critical aspect of the economy, structural aspect of the economy, that government needed to put more effort in making Nigeria great. Right now, a lot of things are actually changing in this country in a positive dimension, and people are beginning to see the technical, impact of the government, the impact of the government when it comes to the economy. But government needs to do more and do more at the end of the day to make sure the economy is actually balanced and create more employment opportunities and create more security and create a conducive environment for every individual on the street. So interest rate needs to be cut to stimulate growth, to make consumer price index and other things that makes the economy to work to actually work. Every household should be able to have access to money to create employment opportunity, to create what we call a conducive environment where people can actually be able to spend money. When money is actually spent, you are actually stimulating the economy. You are making the economy to be growing at the end of the day. But when money is not spent, when people don't have access to credit facilities or loans and the rest of them, how can they be able to invest money into the economy and even employ more people and create more employment opportunity in society? because the interest rate is actually very, suicidal. It's very, very high. And because of that, average man on the street, or those that even have business interests or business ideas, cannot be able to borrow this money because the interest is very, very high. But when the interest is very, very low, a lot of people can be able to bring the brilliant ideas which they have, and go to the banks and take this money and invest into the Nigerian economy and create what surplus and create employment opportunities for other people. And before you know it, the economy will begin to grow up, the economy will begin to develop, the economy will begin to be robust, and the economy is going to be stimulated at the end of the day. I believe you have actually gained something. This is actually an unscripted video. If you have actually gained something from this video, subscribe now. I just wanted to add one or two things to the state of the Nigerian economy and the state of the economy of the world, one way or the other. So if you have actually gained something, share this video on how we can actually how interest rate can actually help to stimulate the economy. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.